I never planned to buy my cousin's company. But Nathan never planned to stop mocking my so-called freelancer hustle either. Life has its own sense of justice. The annual Whitaker family winter gathering was underway at my grandfather's vineyard estate in Sonoma. Golden fairy lights shimmered along the barrel-lined cellar walls, and every table boasted embossed place cards and overpriced truffle hors d'oeuvres. I lingered near the bourbon tasting station, sipping iced ginger tea from a whiskey tumbler, watching Nathan hold court near the copper fireplace. "The merger is basically closed," he was saying, voice pitched just loud enough to carry. "Once Gridstone finalizes the deal with Viridian Tech, I'll be stepping into an executive innovation role, West Coast operations, big picture stuff." He smoothed his blazer sleeve like he was posing for Forbes. Nathan had always been good at branding himself. And our family, especially Aunt Claudia, ate it up like gospel. She looked at him the way she used to back when he won statewide science fairs and dated governors' daughters. "And you, Marissa?" my Uncle Alton asked, his tone syrupy with veiled judgment. "Still doing that digital thing? Analytics something?" I smiled. "Still running my consultancy." Nathan didn't even turn. "Still working that remote gig, huh? How many team members now? 2? 3? 11, I replied evenly, not offering more. Let him believe that Lumina Insight was just a boutique data firm building dashboards for Etsy sellers. Let him think I was still the quirky cousin who left her corporate job in Seattle at 29 to figure things out from a rental cottage in Half Moon Bay. "You know, Marissa," Nathan added, lifting his scotch, "I could talk to HR at Viridian. Get you something real. Steady. You're what, 37? Security matters." My mother gave a strained smile. "That's thoughtful, Nathan." I gripped my glass slightly tighter, thinking of the signed agreement waiting in my email inbox. Lumina Insight's acquisition of a controlling interest in Viridian Tech would finalize before Monday. "I appreciate it," I said evenly, "but I'm doing just fine." Nathan shrugged and turned back to his audience. "Anyway, guess who's showing up tonight? Viridian's CEO, Raymond Choi. He's basically family now." A chorus of impressed murmurs rippled through the room. Aunt Claudia clutched her pearl necklace with theatrical flair, nearly tipping her Cabernet across the linen table runner. Just then, the door at the far end of the cellar eased open, and there he was, flanked by 2 team members in dark suits. Raymond Choi scanned the crowd calmly, then his gaze landed squarely on me. He walked straight over, extending his hand with quiet confidence. "Ms. Whitaker," he said, smiling. "Always a pleasure. Are we still on for tomorrow morning?" The room fell silent. Nathan's smug expression faltered. "Absolutely," I replied, returning his handshake. "I'm looking forward to wrapping everything up." "Raymond Choi?" Nathan echoed, stunned. "Coming here?" His voice caught, too loud. Aunt Claudia beamed. "Oh, Nathan, how exciting. What a coup." I glanced at my watch. 8:27 p.m. Right on schedule. Raymond hadn't come to rub elbows or sip Syrah. He was here because Lumina Insight, my firm, was finalizing its majority acquisition of Viridian Tech in less than 12 hours. The air grew thick with self-congratulation as Nathan launched into his next monologue. With each dram of vintage scotch, his predictions ballooned. How he'd lead the new AI strategy, reinvent the customer experience, and reshape Viridian's legacy division into something cutting-edge. "Toy's good," he announced, "but he plays it safe. I'm ready to take bold steps, own the next era." I almost pitied him. Almost. Then the doorbell rang again. Sharp, precise, 8:30 p.m. Nathan straightened his blazer. "Everyone, be cool. Raymond's more than my CEO now. After the merger, we're practically partners." The grand cellar doors creaked open. Raymond Choi entered with calm authority, his tailored navy coat folded over his arm. Under the warm glow of the cellar chandeliers, his silver hair caught the light, and the crowd instinctively hushed. But instead of heading toward Nathan, his sharp eyes scanned the room, then settled on me. He smiled. "Ms. Whitaker," he said warmly, striding past Nathan without so much as a glance, Thank you for the invitation. I wanted to personally express my appreciation for how smoothly you've handled this transition. Nathan blinked, his confident stance faltering. Sir? You know my cousin? Raymond turned toward him, mildly confused. Of course I do. Then, addressing the room, he added, Marissa Whitaker is the reason I'm here tonight. She's the one who now owns Viridian Tech. Silence dropped like a stone. Nathan's glass slipped from his fingers, landing on the hardwood with a dull thud. Aunt Claudia clutched the back of a chair, her knuckles pale. Uncle Alton's mouth opened, then closed without sound. That's not possible, Nathan muttered, visibly paling. She runs some analytics outfit, local clients, startups or something. I set my glass gently on the barrel beside me. Actually, Lumina Insight is more than a local firm. We're a global analytics and investment group. And as of yesterday, I said clearly, we hold the majority stake in Viridian. The truth settled over the crowd like fog. The little company they dismissed for years, it had scaled, quietly, precisely, until it acquired everything Nathan had staked his ego on. While they bragged over cocktails and clinked vintage glassware, I built something they never saw coming. Nathan's jaw clenched. He looked like he might faint. As for that bold vision of yours, I said calmly, we'll be reviewing all leadership roles this quarter. The room stayed silent. You could almost hear the delicate machinery of pride, assumptions, and denial grind to a halt. Nathan still hadn't moved, his empty scotch glass dangling from his fingertips like an anchor he couldn't let go of. Raymond Choi, composed as always, continued speaking with the kind of calm that only made the blow hit harder. Mrs. Whitaker's acquisition team was nothing short of brilliant, he said, gesturing toward me, with a respect my own family had never once voiced. The precision with which Lumina executed the buyout, timing, leverage, regulatory prep, it was textbook. He looked over at Nathan. Your cousin is one of the most strategic minds I've encountered in this industry. Nathan flushed violently. This is some kind of joke? He stammered. Marissa doesn't, she can't what? I asked, my voice steady. Can't lead a global firm? Can't outmaneuver a boardroom you've never stepped foot in? Can't be more than the cousin you mocked for playing with numbers on Zoom? And Claudia finally spoke, her voice brittle. Marissa, why didn't you ever tell us? I turned to face her fully. Because none of you ever asked, or wanted to believe it. Last Thanksgiving, I added, when Nathan called my company a glorified spreadsheet startup, or the year Uncle Alton offered to introduce me to someone hiring admin assistants. Uncle Alton looked down, muttering, we were just concerned. I swirled my drink. Lumina manages over $12 billion, 0 cents in assets. In the last 3 years, we've acquired 17 firms. That analytics thing? Just acquired Viridian Tech for $4.2 billion, 0 cents. Aunt Claudia gasped. A glass cracked somewhere near the dessert table. Nathan's face twisted in disbelief. You can't do this, he hissed. I've worked there for 8 years. I was promised division director. Raymond cleared his throat. No, I said quietly. Let me. I turned to Nathan, meeting his eyes. If you've enjoyed watching Nathan's illusions unravel, don't forget to subscribe. There's so much more to this story, and trust me, the best is yet to come. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens when power, pride, and the truth collide in the next chapter. We need to talk about your role at Viridian. Nathan's voice cracked. My role? I earned that promotion. You can't just walk in and... Your office, I said calmly but firmly. Now. The crowd stepped back instinctively as I led him down the hallway of the estate. Behind us, whispers bloomed like wildfire. Curious, scandalized, stunned. Nathan slammed the door the moment we entered the side lounge he'd proudly dubbed his strategy suite. That executive facade he wore so well, it was already starting to crumble. How long, he barked, pacing hard. How long have you been scheming this? Is this your twisted revenge fantasy? I sank into the leather chair behind the walnut desk, his prized corner office replica, symbol of power. It suited me just fine now. Nathan's movements turned erratic, like he could still escape the reality unraveling around him. Believe it or not, I said, crossing one leg over the other. This wasn't about you. Lumina's been evaluating Viridian for 3 years. The fact that you worked there? I shrugged. Just an interesting detail. Interesting? His laugh was bitter and hollow. Don't act like this wasn't personal. You've always resented me. Always wanted what I had. Silently, I unlocked my phone, a few taps, and I turned the screen toward him. He stared, blinked, froze. That can't be real. It's my liquid net worth, I said flatly. Just what's accessible. Lumina's full valuation is far higher. I leaned in slightly. So tell me, Nathan, what does success mean to you? He dropped into the guest chair, his energy deflating like a balloon. The color drained from his face, replaced by disbelief and exhaustion. He finally understood. I was in Singapore, I continued, negotiating the Turner Industries acquisition. $2,800,000,000, 0 cents. But all of you assumed I was just avoiding family dinners. Nathan's face went pale, tinged with disbelief. The Turner deal, that was you? He asked, voice cracking. Then the Madison merger last fall. The Carson buyout last spring. Lumina, I confirmed, watching the recognition bloom, then collapse behind his eyes. We've been building a global empire in silence, while you are busy lecturing me about real jobs and dressing for success. He dropped his face into his hands. And now, he whispered, you own Viridian. You own my company. Yeah. I stood and adjusted the hem of my slate gray dress, smoothing out a wrinkle near the waist. And, as the new controlling partner, I added, I have serious concerns about the direction of the West Coast division. His head snapped up. You wouldn't dare. Wouldn't I? I reached into my tote and pulled out the navy folder I had prepped earlier this week. I laid it calmly on the desk. Let's talk about your performance, Nathan. The missed compliance reports, the vendor delays, the project budgets that mysteriously inflated just before quarterly reviews. He stiffened. That's how the industry works. No, I said, meeting his eyes. That's how you worked. And under luminous oversight, that ends now. Nathan leaned back, defeated. His hands hung limp over the armrests. So that's it? He muttered. You're firing me? Your own cousin? I looked at him. Really looked at him. The golden child who never imagined someone else could rise higher. No, I replied coolly. I'm offering you an opportunity to resign, gracefully, before this becomes public. Not firing, I said evenly. I'm offering you a choice. I turned the folder toward Nathan. You can take a lateral transfer to our Minneapolis office. Same compensation, no promotion, clean slate. Or you can resign. We'll provide a 3-month severance package. His jaw dropped. Minneapolis? But my life is here. My network, my condo, your inflated sense of importance, I offered. Your golf club status? Your precious corner spot in the parking garage? Yes, Nathan, you'd lose those. I met his eyes without flinching. But you'd keep your job. It's your decision. He stared down at the paper, fingers twitching with the weight of it. This is cruel, Marissa, he whispered. You're using your power to humiliate me. It's vindictive. Cruel? I echoed, rising from the chair. Like mocking my company at every holiday dinner? Like dismissing me as a joke in front of our entire family? Like suggesting I come work as your executive assistant? Beyond the door, the hum of conversation floated in, the sound of wine glasses clinking, laughter bubbling. I imagined the whispers growing, stories shifting to match the new narrative. You have until New Year's, I said, walking to the door. After that, the offer expires. I paused and glanced back. Oh, and Nathan? That corner office you're so attached to? I'm converting it into a wellness lounge. His expression crumpled, but I didn't stay to watch. When I stepped back into the main room, I spotted my parents near the fireplace with Aunt Claudia and Uncle Alton. Their voices dropped instantly. My mother approached with arms open. "Marisa, sweetheart, we had no idea you've done all this, and we never knew. Why didn't you say something?" I paused, stepping just out of her reach. "Would it have made a difference, Mom, if it wasn't flashy or public?" "Of course it would have," she said, too quickly. "We're your family." "No," I replied, gently but firmly. "You're people who share my last name. Family supports without needing headlines. Family listens even when the story isn't impressive." My father cleared his throat. "Marissa, we may have misjudged some things, but we always wanted what was best for you." "Did you?" I asked. "Or did you want what looked best to your wine club friends?" Before the silence could grow heavier, Raymond Choi approached with a composed nod. "Miss Whitaker," he said, smiling politely, "I'll head out now. We've got an early session to review the integration roadmap." "Of course," I nodded. "My team will have the documentation on your desk by 9. As he stepped away, I heard my mother whisper to Aunt Claudia, "Did you hear that? She has a team." And I almost laughed. Now they were proud. Now they were listening. Now that my success could be measured in headlines and dollar signs, they wanted to hear the story. Nathan reappeared minutes later, disheveled, distant, making a beeline for the bourbon. As he poured, relatives circled him like vultures, asking what had just happened. For once, he had nothing to say. I gathered my coat and clutch. This wasn't how I meant to reveal everything. Not at a holiday party, not under chandeliers and champagne. But maybe it was the best way after all. Unmistakable, undeniable. "Leaving already?" my father asked. "But we've barely spoken. Tell us more about your firm, your acquisitions." I checked my watch. "I've got a 6 a.m. flight to London. Meeting with a potential new acquisition." "But it's Christmas," my mother gasped. "Yes," I said softly. "And now you finally understand why I won't be here. No more assumptions that I skipped holidays because I was embarrassed. No more whispered theories that I was broke, adrift, or chasing pipe dreams. I'm leaving because I'm successful, because I've built something extraordinary, and while you were too busy doubting me, I was too busy becoming someone who didn't need your validation." I paused at the door, then turned one last time. "Oh, and Nathan, remember when you offered to put in a good word for me at Viridian?" I let the silence stretch, just long enough. "Don't worry about it. I think I'll manage." The look on his face, it almost made up for years of being dismissed. Almost. As I drove down the oak-shaded road that led away from the estate, my phone buzzed constantly. Messages from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. "Congrats, proud of you, let's catch up soon. Coffee?" I deleted everyone. They say success is the best revenge. But they're wrong. It's not about buying the company your cousin believed he'd control. It's not about besting people who never thought you'd matter. The real victory? Never needing their approval in the first place. 3 months later, Nathan quietly accepted the Minneapolis transfer. My parents now introduced me as their visionary entrepreneur daughter, glossing over the years they suggested I try something practical. As for me, I just closed another acquisition, a small but influential tech firm based in Savannah. Whitaker Systems, my father's passion project, his lay career legacy. The business he once hoped Nathan would inherit. I had my assistant deliver the ownership papers in a sleek, cream envelope. Sometimes, silence delivers the loudest message. If Marissa's story resonated with you, even just a little, I'd love to hear it. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you would have done in my shoes. Or better yet, share a moment when you realized your worth didn't need validation. I read every message. And if you're walking your own quiet path to something greater, subscribe and stick around. This community is for builders, dreamers, and the underestimated. My advice? Never wait for applause. Build anyway. Grow anyway. Let your work speak when others won't. And remember, success doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. It just needs to be yours.